Welcome back to the 4A Baseball Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We've had a fun weekend. We've had some technical difficulties. We're down a computer today. Stev, hope you're doing good over there with your iPad camera that follows you. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. I'm just enjoying. I'm in a lull, just looking at Steps' camera, following him around. That is just so satisfying to me. Steps, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Again, down a laptop, but 2 more weeks, then done with the semester, and I'm starting to look for something new.
Hey, that's fair, man. We're gonna get a little bit better with our schedule. We're in the dog days of it, right? Final regular weeks of semester. Then we got finals. So once we get through that, this summer is going to be fun. We're going to get a lot of content out for you guys. We're going to get it on podcast. We're going to stick better to our schedule. We've been on a schedule, but we're going to be better about it. YouTube's going to ramp up. TikTok's going to ramp up, and we'll try and be better about like not just posting this umpire sucks on Twitter. This past week we've had a lot of fun series. There's a lot of rain. There's a lot of rain. Shohei pitched on a mound with the rain. Shohei did not like that it was rainy. Shohei did not get to pitch a lot of innings because it was rainy.
And he struggles with zippers. That's all.
Yeah, that's the key takeaways from this weekend. Thank you. Okay, okay. So, Steves, can you kick us off in the American League?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So we'll start with Twins Yankees first. The Correa thrives on the hatred it feels. He says he just absolutely loves it. Twins pitching staff is definitely legit. They went against some heavy hitters out in New York, and they pitched extremely well. Yankees pitching staff has done a considerably good job considering the injuries and how we kind of predicted them to perform. Brad's Garrett Cole Cy Young prediction is probably pretty spot on at this point. He pitched 9 innings, gave up 2 hits, 0 earned, 1 walk, 10 Ks in his last outing. And Stanton is out with a grade 2 hamstring for at least a month. They just came out today for about 6 weeks. I saw a post that was it who is the bald guy, Tom bald guy,
What?
Chief?
Brett Gardner. Brett Gardner.
Brett
The
He's
Gardner.
thumb.
played he's played more games since 2019 than
Right.
Giancarlo Stanton has with the New York Yankees. So that's fun. But it was a split series 2-2. You guys have anything on this series?
Sticky.
Um, I mean,
Oh,
I
I
don't know.
did forget about that game.
So basically, if for those that don't know, Domingo Herman was throwing very good game against the Twins. He was striking out a ton of batters. Curveballs were great, everything of that nature. After one of those like checks where like they give him like a nice hand rub after an inning, they deemed his hand was really sticky and it was like mainly his pinky, so they had him go wash it off. He goes and washes it off, comes back out next inning, it's sticky again, right? Rocco Baldelli loses his mind, and nothing really happens of it. Post game, he goes, "Yeah, I have a rosin bag in the dugout that I like rub up on, and it makes sticky because you're allowed to use rosin. Rosin's a legal substance. People mix like spit and rosin, sweat and rosin. You can't spit on the ball. You got to spit like on your hand, rub it, something of that nature, right? But like, I don't know how I feel about this because this is an example of someone using what they're allowed to do. It just has a negative, I guess, outlook from it. But there's the issue of he says, or it can be reasonably inferred that the reason it's in the dugout, not on the mound, is because you only have 15 seconds to put the tack on put the tack on your hand. Like you don't have that luxury time.
I mean, for me, I'm kind of where Rocco was at. Like he was warned once, he came back, got checked again, and it was there yet again. You gotta get rid of him after that. If you check him twice and it's the same thing twice, he's gotta go.
I think that's fair because you're basically saying, "Hey, go clean this off, get it off of you," and then he does it, and then it's back. And even if it's legal, right? I feel like that's the thing, though. If it's legal, you're basically saying you can't have any help at all. You can't have anything.
I mean, it is, but on the same token, like if you have that rosin bag with you in the dugout, like it should be out on the field. Like
But the
I
pitch
don't
clock.
know. I know and I understand that, but if he's applying no, but like he's applying that in the dugout. So like he's not reapplying between every pitch, right? So like the pitch clock thing doesn't really track, at least in my head. My thing is, again, you're warned once, you get caught again, you gotta go. I don't care if it's legal or not. If they deem it sticky, then he has to go.
Here's my question. Do you think that this would have been a problem if Domingo Herman was not throwing a perfect game or, dominating like he was. I think if he wasn't pitching that well, they wouldn't have been as, worried about it.
No, because why would you change something if he was getting lit up? Um, but
Exactly.
I think that it obviously is going to be exaggerated when the Twins offense had beaten the Yankees pretty solidly the first two games. And now they're just getting shut down by Domingo Herman of all people. Like, yeah, he's a solid pitcher, but he's not a shut you down for 6 innings perfect type pitcher. I think that's why it was so much more of a shock to the Twins.
That's definitely fair. Yeah, I don't know. My big thing is if twice, if I have to talk to you twice about it, he has to go. And I think that was Rocco's issue with it.
No, that's completely. I get that. And people point to the fact that his RPMs went down, right? Like, yes, he was using rosin, like he was using something sticky, but it was legal. But also, it doesn't matter if you wash your hands, even if you're not doing something. Any like, I guess, friction you've created on your hands is now gone because you've cleaned it off with soap. Even if you're cold turkeying it, like there's still going to be a restriction of like any sweat that's built up in your hands now off of it. Anything of that nature, your RPMs are going to lower. So I think it got a little bit blown out of proportion.
Yeah. Let's head over to the Rays and Blue Jays series. The Mighty Rays are not invincible. They lose not only 2 games in the series, but the series as a whole. Rasmussen got hit pretty hard in game 1, and Barrios has a decent start. He went 5 with only allowing 1. They did lose the series, right? I just said that, but it's still an incredibly impressive run from what they did. They did win 13 games in a row to start a season, which is incredibly hard to do. Every single team that they beat are MLB teams. They are all competitive teams that are trying to win for the most part. Maybe not the Athletics, but the Athletics are a pesky team that are going out and trying to win, right? Kikuchi pitched well in his outing. The real Rays do come out in game 3 to avoid the sweep. Shanahan goes 6, only allowing 1. So I saw this question on TikTok, and I want to ask you guys about it. Is the pitch clock, because Alek Manoah has not looked good so far this season. So is like the pitch clock affecting kind of like heavier set guys a little more because they don't have the ability to catch their breath, and stuff like that? Because I know like when I was younger and I was a little more heavy set, like having to get sped up is incredibly hard to like catch your breath, right?
These are professional athletes. I don't think it's that big of a difference. If you look at everything that's pointed wrong, it's been his stuff. Like all his stuff numbers are down. His fastball is being used lower in the zone than it should be. Sinker's worse. The slider, like his big pitch of, his biggest pitch, the 15 inches of sweep, that's lower. The velo is down, so it's just less effective. The changeup's been his best pitch, and that's not his trademark pitch. The run value doesn't really support that, but in terms of stuff, that's been his best. His last outing, he was up to his highest he's been. It's just he hasn't been the same. The shift kind of did hurt, and I feel like he was someone that there was bound to be an ounce of regression, but it's been a little. Been more like a couple pounds of regression. Not to make a like big set joke, but
I think he might have screwed himself over when he said that line, pressure something you put in your tires, because he has not looked the same since then. And you can get the yips by getting, shelled. It can mess with you. And I think that honestly it might be a mental thing. I don't know. I honestly didn't look much into the sabermetrics on this guy last season. I don't know if the expected stuff was not there, but Alek Manoah might just be in his own head. I really am. I'm thinking that. Some guys come out the gate cold. Some guys get shaken up in the postseason and then aren't ever the same. There's a couple guys in history that happens to. I don't think it's gonna be the same for him. He needs to just shake it off though. He's definitely a little bit, roughed up by last year's postseason run, I think.
I mean, he's walking 15% of batters this year
I
compared to
know.
his 6% last year.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just all around step back everywhere.
I don't know. It was a question I saw, and I was like, I mean, I could see a point of it. Not that like, because again, you don't have time to catch your breath between the pitches. You're carrying a little more weight. And I could see it affecting some people. Again, you're right, they're professional athletes, but it is a decent talking point. Side of the Angels Red Sox series, Anthony Rendon's lackadaisical throwing motion lost them the first game on 2 throwing errors. Their defensive woes very, very bad early in the season. But both teams' offenses are really their main point of their team. After game 2, Zach Neto gets called up and David Fletcher gets sent down to AAA. He went 1 for 9 in his first 2 games, and the Red Sox take this series 3-1. What are your guys' thoughts on Zach Neto Zach Neto getting called up, and how do you feel about this series just as a whole?
Very
I don't
neato.
think. I don't know what they're doing. The Angels are another team that are just not run well. I don't think he was ready to come up. I think that might mess with his mental. It might mess with the way he plays baseball. He needs more time in the minors. You just not time you bring him up. Brad, do you think he was major league ready to come up? Or you think this is rushed?
I don't know if it's more he was ready than David Fletcher was just so unbelievably garbage.
Yeah. I mean,
It's also like throwback to the Tyler Anderson rant I had last episode or whenever that was. Like they're not utilizing their pitchers correctly. They're in Fenway, which is a hitter's ballpark, and I don't like the fact of the matter is they have Zach Neto playing second base. They have Luis Rengifo at shortstop. Neither of them hit this series, right? In the 5 other positions, you have competent major league bats. 6 other positions. It's just I don't know. I'm not out on the Angels by any means. This isn't the Red Sox have ended the Angels. It's just I think they might have just looked really bad in the series.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
don't know. The takeaway is that the Angels, aren't as mighty as we thought. They, every single season, I think for the last 3 seasons, they've come out the gate pretty hot. This season, not crazy hot, but they look like a better team. And I think now we're kind of regressing to the mean. They're about a 500 team. I'm a little concerned. I don't know what they need to address, but it's just not working right now. You need to be beating teams like the Red Sox.
to be completely fair, in a couple of these games, I'm not going to say all of them, but in a couple of these games, their bullpen didn't look atrocious. They looked like somewhat competent pitchers. I think they wanted the defense that Neto brought. Because again, like I said, in the first couple of games of the series, Rendon had 2 throwing errors. They let up a lot of runs on just mental mistakes. Alex Cora talked about it. He was like, we had to capitalize on it. Like if you give us more than 27 outs in a game, we are going to beat you. And that's just true in any game. If you give up more than 27 outs, more than likely you're going to lose that game.
The bullpen is I was just looking at it to see like how bad it's actually been. They're 12th in the league in ERA in the bullpen, 9th in starting pitching.
But yeah,
Like,
so I don't know
I think it's
they
clutch time hitting.
need to address the bullpen because the bullpen can get better, right? And they need some sort of consistent bat. I don't know where they're going to get that consistent bat, but it feels important that they go and get someone that they can count on to get a single or something just to get on base and put a little bit of pressure on the team.
I mean, I feel like
That's not Trout or Ohtani.
Taylor or Hunter Renfroe has been fantastic. First of all,
True.
Rendon's been okay. Taylor Ward will be fine. Like I think we've agreed that like Taylor Ward's a solid baseball player. He'll be okay.
Yeah.
Logan O'Hoppe actually looks legit. It's just 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
7, 8, 9 is a whole.
I saw.
I think it's literally just hitting with runners on base. I don't know if there's a stat you can look that up, but like
Probably batting.
this lineup is pretty stacked. Like it's pretty stacked, and it doesn't matter if you're missing 3 good bats. A team with 6 really good bats should be winning more games than this Angels team is winning, especially considering that they have a decent bullpen and a decent starting rotation. I think it's coming down to the fact that they're not clutch. They're just a team that cannot drive in batters when they're on base. I think that's their problem. They're just not putting as many runs on the board as a team like this should be.
Yeah, I definitely I just said it. I don't know what I don't know what I would do if I was in their shoes, because you need every game this season for the Angels is just that much more important Because if you lose it, you're one step closer to Otani being out the door. He's basically 1 foot out the door at this point in time. And every loss you take is just one more for him out the door.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to think about it. It's Shohei Ohtani. We're going to talk about this 18 times before the trade deadline, and during next offseason, because if he doesn't test the waters of free agency, he's being stupid. The only way the Angels win this whole thing is if they re-sign him, and the only way they're going to re-sign him is if they're competitive right now. But they don't have prospect capital to be dealing for relief pitchers.
Yeah, you gotta hope one of their 20 prospects they drafted in what was that 2021 comes up and is good this year. I don't know. I don't have that up in front of me, but something needs to change. Whether that be a defensive shift, a bullpen arm to come up and just be locked down, or a bat that is extremely, extremely helpful. They need one of the three, if not all of the three. Okay. Let's throw it over to the other Sox team, the Orioles and the White Sox. Adley is just good at baseball. Despite a strong outing from Klevner, the White Sox lose game 1. He said he just feels like they're beating themselves at this point in time. Is there any truth to this?
I mean, given the
White
fact
Sox are just
that
beating themselves.
Given the fact that they haven't won a series yet, they're the only team to not win a series. It feels like it to some degree, but it doesn't feel like the White Sox are that good, in all honesty. It really doesn't.
I was slightly threatened by their offense to start the season. It's just everyone's gotten hurt. The big bats in that lineup are not looking as good. Robert cooled off. Jimenez went down with an injury. He's back. The White Sox posting he's back for the 50th time. They literally have that graphic just prepared every time he gets injured. It's so funny. Anderson's down with an injury. There's a lot of, injury. We talked about the ceilings and the floors, and we always mentioned injury concerns. If this team was fully healthy, I fully believe that they would be a contender for the Central. It's just not going to happen right now, especially with these injuries.
It's also the bullpen's not good. The bullpen is the worst in baseball in terms of ERA.
It's like the most expensive bullpen too. Like they're spending, I think they're up there at least. I don't know if they're the most, but they're up there in expense, like pay wise in the bullpen, and it's just been awful.
I mean, it's true. The White Sox, they're not competing. They said that there was going to be a new brand of baseball with the new manager, everyone coming in to take over, reshape this Tony La Russa travesty. I guess that's the word. The Chicago White Sox are outdated.
Just a travesty.
They're behind. They don't have a brand of baseball. That's the issue, right? You think about teams in their division. The Cleveland Guardians are contact hitters. Right now, the Minnesota Twins are pitching juggernauts. Hello. The Kansas City Royals don't have much of an identity. And look, they're not succeeding. The Detroit Tigers don't have much of an identity. And until the past 5 games, they haven't really been succeeding. You can just take the AL Central for that example. And they need to know who they are, first of all. And if they can discover that, then maybe they'll enter this division race. But until they get there, they might be sellers at the trade deadline.
I see that as a real possibility. I really do.
It is well.
At the same time, I think their volatility has just gotten even higher. I feel like they could finish the season on top. I feel like they could go on a hot streak, and with given everyone comes back healthy and everything goes perfect. But there's a chance that this team sells and just sucks after the deadline and finishes with a pretty like unpredictable record of almost 100 losses. Like they could be a really bad team if they sell everyone.
I don't think they'll be that low, because you have to consider they're not going to trade Cease, they're not going to trade Luis Robert, they're not going to trade Eloy Jimenez, Oscar Colas, Andrew Vaughn.
They trade what, like Tim Anderson and Giolito?
Giolito, Clevenger, Lynn, Hendricks, maybe. I don't think that would go over that well.
I don't dislike
Anderson, Grandal.
If is Hendricks supposed to come back this year?
Yeah,
it's going to be probably.
If he comes back and he's locked down like he normally is, then which I don't think he won't be. Because he's not going to rush coming back. He's going to come back at his own pace. I think he'll definitely help that expensive bullpen a lot. But so Grayson Rodriguez, it looks like he's really only getting better. He gets rocked in the first inning and settles down. It's kind of like a lot of normal aces do. And in game 3, the White Sox let Cease down. Bummer was quite a bummer and allowed 3 runs and without an out in his inning. And I'm going to double back to the Orioles. I want to talk about Gunnar Henderson. He's kind of been rocky to start this season. Is there any cause for concern at this point in time? He has a he's in the 99th percentile in walk percentage, but past that, none of his percentiles are super off the charts. He's batting 178 thus far this season. What is it? 373 on base percentage. Like I said, he is very, very good at walking. 289 slugging, 662 OPS. Just it's a caution to the wind question. I'm not saying there is cause for concern. I'm just saying what you guys think.
There is a reason I didn't pick him as my rookie of the year, and it wasn't because I thought he would randomly just disappear like this, but it's because I didn't know if he'd be that consistent. And I think that's going to be the case. I think he's going to come back. And what are you looking at me like that, Brad?
How's your rookie of the year doing?
How's yours doing? Wait, oh shoot, wait, yours is actually doing pretty well. Did you pick Hunter Brown? Who did you pick? I
I
forgot.
picked Gunnar Henderson and Hunter Brown was second.
Okay, yeah. Well, it seems like all of our rookie of the years are not doing well, but we're all settling in. It's okay. We're all settling in. We'll calm down. Yoshida on top. I still got him in there. But I'm not worried about Gunnar. I think he could easily tear it up in the month of June, July. I mean, there's a million months you can do this in. Like, he's going to heat up eventually. It's only a matter of time.
I think he could do it literally right now. He's got a similar barrel percentage, similar exit velocity. He's hitting the ball in the sweet spot of his bat more often. He's walking more than he ever has before. And from the looks of it, it generally just looks like he's taking too many pitches. He just needs to be more aggressive.
I mean, early in the season, it's so easy to say this, but like, just to provide some perspective, a guy like Bobby Witt was batting like 120 a week ago, and now he's up to 299 because he had like 4 3-hit games in a row.
Max Muncy.
Literally, it's too early to say this. Like, you can have a good week. Like, Gunnar Henderson could win Player of the Week with 8 hits and immediately be back into the Rookie of the Year conversation, or like the best, the conversation for the best young player in baseball. Like, it's that easy. It's too early to say.
I like the Orioles a good amount right now. They're a playoff team right now. They're the 6th wild card spot. Their offense is pretty good, in all honesty. If they had an ounce of starting pitching, I think Grayson Rodriguez will be there. I'm going to give him like 5 or 6 more starts before I start like judging him, if that makes sense. As long as he's not getting like tattooed all over the yard. But if he's competing, if he's dominating in stretches of the game, and then in 6 or 7 starts, we get this breakout, 6 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts, 1 hit, something of that nature from Grayson Rodriguez, I think then I'll be pretty confident in him. Kyle Gibson's been okay, but past that, the starting pitching's just not been there.
Kramer looked pretty good tonight against the Nats, but again, it's the Nationals, so I don't know. It was just a question I had because I was looking and my roommate is a Orioles fan. We were talking about it. And he's a little worried, but we're not sounding alarms quite yet, in my opinion either. Let's head over to the other young kid, Hunter Brown, and his Astros take on the Rangers. He looked good yet again in his start against the Rangers. It was a very good outing. Outside of him, should we be worried about the starting rotation as all? The Rangers offense feels legit despite the Seager injury. Semien has to step up. I think he will, and he did in game 3 of this series. And can the Rangers rotation stay solid despite the DeGrom injury? Didn't happen in this series, but it did just happen. And it was just kind of like risk, they just wanted to be cautious, but Rangers do win this series 2-1. What are we thinking?
Well, he's expected to make his next start, so I think we're okay. Doesn't look like he's heading to the IL. But Hunter Brown looks really good. You bring up the point that should we be scared about the rotation? We're talking about the Astros rotation.
Yes, Astros rotation. Sorry.
Oh, Framber Valdez looked really good. Christian Javier looked really good in his last start. It's just Jose Urquidy. And who's their fifth starter? Just drawing a blank.
Jacob
It's
Rizzi.
not
It's not Odo. It's
because McCullers is hurt too.
McCullers is hurt. Oh my god. Roster resource. Hello.
Yeah, because it was
Estimations.
Garcia, Brown,
It is Garcia.
Javier.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's
Is
Garcia.
it Garcia?
Garcia's been really, really garbage.
Yeah.
He's
That
been
new
Luis
motion.
Yeah,
garbage.
he looked
Yeah,
really bad. He looked bad in game one. Hunter Brown settled down, and then
Framber.
in game two, and then Valdez went game three. Yeah.
And the
I
thing with
was
Framber is he had 4 runs, but only 1 was earned, and he went like 7
Yes.
innings.
I was looking at a lot of statistics regarding Corey Seager because I was like, man, this pick sucks. He's getting injured. I mean, obviously, that's not something you can control, but dude, he was looking very good out the gate. I mean, I didn't really expect him to be looking that good under the hood. That rhymed, but he really does look good. And if he comes back from injury and plays as good as he is doing now, I really do think this Rangers offense, one, looks scary, and two, my MVP pick looks really cool. But more importantly, the Rangers offense is real. It's just a matter of whether the rotation can stay healthy. I think Andrew Heaney pitched another good game. I don't know if that was in this series, but I'm not too worried about this rotation.
Well, given the fact that Corey Seager's on the IL for a month, I don't know about that MVP pick.
He's gonna hit like 15 home runs in a week.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
sure.
if he comes back and is sensational, I could see it, but I don't. I could see him being in the conversation. I don't see him winning it.
He's got to be historic to beat Otani. So,
Yeah, it's not happening.
El Tom,
all right, ready for the National League?
Yeah.
no.
All right, so we go to Cincinnati with the dollar store Reds versus the many dollar store Phillies. And you get Nick Lodolo, who at the time, before tonight, recording this on Tuesday evening, was the 9th best pitcher in MLB for F4. He has another great start. Jonathan India seemed fixed. The Reds scored 13 in game 3 behind Graham Ashcraft, looked really good. Will Myers had a 2-home run day. The Phillies won 14-3 in game 4, a little bit of retaliation because Luis Sessa allowed 11 earned runs over 3 innings pitched. Series split 2-2.
Do we think that this Reds rebuild is coming along very well, or are they just, an explosive team? Do we think this is the future? Like with, obviously the starting pitching looks like the future, but do you think this lineup as currently constructed could be, contending within the next year or two?
I will answer that question once they start calling up some bats.
Yeah.
They need. I'm not gonna. As currently constructed, no. Once you get like Noave Marte up and a couple there, and but Dela Cruz,
Yes.
right? Once they get those guys up, then yeah, I could definitely see this being a competitive team. You need good starting pitching to win championships. If you go into a postseason with a good 1-2-3, that'll get you very, very far into the postseason. We saw it back in 2019 with the Nats. They had a very, very good 1-2-3, and it got them deep into the postseason. Saw it last year with the Astros. They had a very, very good 1-2-3, and it got them through and into the postseason, into the World Series.
Yeah, the Cincinnati. All right, the Phillies don't look good. The Reds are
Oh no,
outperforming what they are, and they faced and they were even.
yeah.
I
mean, okay.
I don't know. This team, I think this Phillies team put up like 15 hits a game. I mean, they're hitting pretty well. I mean, they're having some really good offensive breakouts from these guys. Like Brandon Marsh, Bryson Stott looks good. Bohm looks good. These are like the role player type of guys you would think. I mean, obviously the big guys are playing well too. Even Castellanos is looking pretty good. And there's a deep drive to left field. The whole offense as a whole is looking good. The pitching has been horrible. If I had any questions about this team, I would have more been worried about the offense than the pitching. But now it's just completely flip flop for me. I don't think there's too much cause for concern. I don't think they're as bad as they look right now. What do you think about that, Stev?
So, I mean, a big thing is Bryson Stott. He's kind of come out and swung pretty well. Kind of done well with the shift getting banned. He's kind of going to left field a lot. He looks very, very good. Again, we talked about it. It's just the bullpen and the starting rotation just doesn't look good. I don't know if coming into the season, I don't think we really had cause for concern about starting rotation. Like I think I had Nola as my Cy Young. He does not look like a Cy Young, right? Uh, I don't. It's again, it's early in the season. We're like what 20 games deep at this point. Like there's still time. There's 140 games to play.
Right.
But when I think when Harper comes back, that'll be, which I think is why he's trying to rush to come back to play first base. And play first base. I think that'll be the real telltale sign if this Phillies team is a bust or is it a boom.
My question is because a guy like Bryson Stott, I was like really on the hype train looking at his stats. I mean, this is a guy with what like probably like six doubles, about 30 hits. Doesn't walk that much, but like, why does his peripherals look so bad?
He
Like,
doesn't hit the ball hard.
is he going to regress? Is this not like he's been having these multi-hit games like every day of the week. And he looks legit and he's just not, his peripherals look horrible. They literally look horrible. I mean, like the expected WOBA was in the 18th percentile. Considering a guy that's hitting doubles and I mean, he's hitting singles every game, but hitting for some decent, like you got an 879 OPS. Something's not matching here. I don't know if this is, a guy that's defying the sabermetrics or if it's just a guy that's, getting lucky. But
Well,
I does it regress eventually or?
I mean, yes, because it regresses over a long sample size. This is a short sample size. It's also fact of the matter is he's profiling as a contact hitter right now. It's a majority of singles. There's a couple doubles scattered in. He has one home run. The expected batting average is still pretty high. It's what is it? It's in the 67th percentile, so kind of just above middle of the pack.
Yeah.
And he doesn't barrel the ball. He's hitting it on the ground the majority of the time. He doesn't walk at all. He's got a 390 on base percentage to his 382 batting average. There's a 0.08 difference there. So, case in point, he's not really making much of a difference when it comes to hitting the ball hard, hitting it in for power. Right now, he's contacting as a profile bat, and pretty much every contact bat has a lower xWOBA than their actual WOBA.
Hey, I mean, his teammate Brandon Marsh does have good peripherals. That makes me happy. I like Brandon Marsh. He looks like, I mean, right now, like a pretty complete guy. So if there's a bat that's going to stay consistent in that lineup that is, considered a breakout, I would probably pick him.
Moving on to the Pirates at the Cardinals, the number 3 Pirates offense gets shut down by Vinny Velo. Johan Oviedo strikes out 10 over 7 innings pitched of 1 earned ball, but he loses the game. Go Bucks. Steven Matz had his first quality start of the year, but a 10th inning 3-run home run from Andrew McCutchen helps the Buccos win it. The Cardinals offense didn't really show up besides game 4, where they only scored 5 runs, and they split the series with the Pittsburgh Pirates, the playoff Pittsburgh Pirates, 2-2.
What's happening? Is this team good or I mean, like, I don't know what's happening with these guys. Like Andrew McCutcheon's look good. Brian Reynolds cooled off quite a bit, but I mean, still looking pretty good. A lot of pieces on this team are working pretty well. I mean, obviously it doesn't like stay completely consistent, but are we somewhat sold on this team? They're beating some pretty good teams.
I'll tell you who I'm sold on.
Who?
Brian Hayes.
Has he been doing decently better?
Well, he's got a
I don't think it's-
610 OPS, but
Yeah.
he doesn't whiff. He doesn't strike out. He doesn't really walk that much. High expected batting average, high expected WOBA, high average exit velocity, and our favorite part, a 14-degree launch angle.
Yep, and a 21% barrel rate despite crazy peripherals. I don't understand. He's hitting the ball directly up the middle. He is not pulling or going up. He's hitting it right up the middle. I mean, this is a good profile. Why doesn't it match, with like an all-star kind of player? This is a guy that has extremely high upside now offensively. We've known this. I just, is he going to make the change? Is he going to make the change to turn him into the all-star? Because he could. I mean, another bat in this lineup would make this team, pretty scary, actually. I mean, there's actually a couple decent thump bats in this lineup. I don't know.
I mean, it's the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, they're going to regress. They're not ready yet. And if they don't, this is going to be like the Giants last year. Not that they're on the same caliber of team, but if they don't sell at the deadline, they're making a mistake.
Yeah.
Who are you selling at the deadline?
Rich Hill, Vinny Velo. Who else did they sign? They signed Carlos Santana.
McCutchen.
You don't trade McCutchen.
Okay,
No.
good.
Yeah, don't.
Just ask. Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going for is like they're not ready to compete yet. If the playoffs started today, it's competing time, but it's not. If you're somehow in contention in what's the trade deadline, July 31st, so 4 months from now, 3 months from now, then go for it. Like I guess the thing with the Pirates is when you look at this roster, you're like, all right, this is not the team that is going to compete for a playoff team. There are pieces on this team that will be there, but this is not the exact team that will be going for the playoffs. So you don't take the risk. I'm gonna contradict myself here. You actually trade at the deadline, even if you're in contention for it, because you're going to fall out of playoff contention more likely than not. And you don't get anything for not making the playoffs. You get a mid-tier draft pick, unless you get really, really lucky. That's really it. You aren't going to offer a qualifying offer to Rich Hill, Carlos Santana, Vinny Velo. So get some value out of them.
I mean,
Yeah.
I agree. It just comes down to, are you letting the fans down by, giving up on a playoff contending team like that? You know what I'm saying? Like if you were reasonably, out of contention, I think fans would be, decently okay. I mean, even the Nats when they weren't playing well and they did a fire sale, the fans are upset. Can you imagine if they were actually, you know, in a position to win the division or make the playoffs?
The thing with the Nats versus the Pirates is the Nats were trading off like generational talents. They were trading off Scherzer hitting free agency versus Vince Velasquez.
I see no difference. Stabs, thoughts?
I think you just brought that up to be a
No,
tool.
no.
All right, let's head to the next series. I don't want to talk about the Pirates anymore.
I love the Pirates. The Brewers went to San Diego and they took 3 out of 4. Devin Williams looked absolutely dominant in game one. He comes in there, grabs the door, puts their face on the door, and just like slams it, like closes the door on them.
Yeah.
Devin Eric Lauer bump day, the best day of the 5-day week. He is a absolute masterclass of a pitcher. The Padres are just lost in the sauce beyond comparison because Cy Lauer, he goes 6 innings pitched and only allows 1 run. Rowdy Tellez hit 2 bombs in that game. Game 3, Jake Cronenworth and Xander Bogaerts had 3 hits. That was the only game the Padres won. And then game 4, Wade Miley and Yu Darvish had a masterclass. Darvish struck out 12, but the Brewers won 1-0. Go Brew Crew. Good job. You beat the Padres.
I'm weirded out that Wade Miley did as well as he did that game. I was like, you Darvish, there's no way he's getting outdueled by let's see who's pitching for the Brewers. And then it was Wade Miley. Like, what do you that
Don't
doesn't
cook
happen.
on my boy Wade.
I'm cooking on my boy Wade or your
No,
boy
my
Wade.
boy.
Not my boy.
Mine.
I don't know what they're able to do out in Milwaukee, man, but I mean, it's not like Wade Miley was bad, but like, this good. I don't know
Wade.
how. I
It's
mean,
also one outing.
nah. I think that the Brewers look like a real team right here. I mean, they've had a really tough strength of schedule to start the season, and they've managed pretty well against these teams.
So also, you remember how the whole thing that we were really worried about with William Contreras was that he'd be bad defensively?
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess he's an above average glove now.
and a below average bet.
Fair enough. But
It's literally opposite day.
a 754 OPS isn't atrocious.
That's
I mean,
not
to be
too
fair,
bad.
his brother's not hitting too well either.
He's
So
got a 346 expected WOBA to a 347 actual. He's walking, he's striking out a little bit. It's an okay. I'm not upset by this.
I'm pleased, I guess. Yeah, you're right.
So my question is, when we record our next episode in 2 days, there will be a certain new person in this lineup. And how do we think that's going to affect them in the Padres lineup?
Ferdinand.
He's hitting pretty well in the minors. If you haven't been checking, Fernando Tatis.
Have you watched the pitches that he's been hitting?
I
They're
mean,
like middle.
It's still
slow
major league
fastballs.
level, not major league level, but like competitive.
One might
base.
say 4A level.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Brad. Good reference. I'm sold. I'm not giving up on the Padres. First of all, it's way too early. Second of all, they got potentially their best bet entering the lineup now. And they already are stacked. Juan Soto is horrible. I mean, he literally is not good anymore. I don't know what's happening. I'm about to give up on him. I'm running out of patience. I'm serious, Brad. When do the peripherals start to match? When does he start regressing back to the mean? Because he has been underperforming his peripherals for a year now. When does it start
He
to
has
come back?
been absolutely atrocious in San Diego
I mean, it's not
compared
even the
to in
peripherals.
Washington.
Like the
Like,
peripherals don't look bad. It's just he has not
but
put the actual stats up, and I'm just not sold.
so for me, I think it's there's a combination of things that's going on with Soto, and I think he's adjusting with he tweaked his batting stance a lot in the off season, so he's adjusting with that. He's adjusting with the pitch clock because I don't think he's a big fan of the pitch clock, but he is still adjusting to it. And it's the whole drama from last year. I think he's still not fully over it, in all honesty. Um, and I think he's still kind of weeding his way through everything. There's a lot going on in Soto's head, and I don't know. I think he's getting in his own head about it. I think he's definitely. I don't think it's time to give up on Juan Soto yet, Tom. I think that is a overreaction, but I think he will come back and he will regress to the mean.
If I was Juan Soto, I would sue Scott Boras because he lost Juan Soto
Well,
probably $200 million. I'm not even kidding.
Did you see the what was it? It was the tweets today. And he had came out and said that he kind of, because last season, whenever he was like asked reports about it, he was like, "Well, I let my agent deal with contract negotiations, blah 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 blah." Right? Today, he like said something about how he believes the Nats ownership leaked the contract details last year, and then he cut ties and said, "I don't want to negotiate during the season."
Yeah, Nats ownership has just fumbled the bag so
Atrocious.
hard. I
I
mean,
don't. So I don't know if that's the full truth because I'm gonna be honest. Scott Boras feels like a person to do that. The only person I know who did not leak the contract details is Juan Soto. I can't say either way whether Nats did it, whether Boras did it, whether outside source did it. But I don't know.
look, I would be pissed either way because as a player, if you're gonna be there for how many years was it, like 15 or like it was a long time. Like
13, I want to
it was
say.
13, and you're making that much money, you're gonna be there for the rebuild, sure, but you're gonna be getting paid, and you're gonna and you better hope that the Nats aren't rebuilding for 13 years straight. You know, you're gonna be competing again. Like Juan Soto bet on himself, essentially, or Scott Boras is betting on Soto, and he lost. I think he's going to get a significantly
He is
smaller contract now.
losing. He has not lost yet.
I think it's almost over for him. I mean, is he? No, I'm not saying his career's over, but I'm saying in terms of getting the big bag, it's going out the
He
window
still
pretty
has the
fast.
rest of. He has 140 games this season and 162 next, and a postseason
I think that's the only chance he's
or
got the
two.
postseason. He's looked not good in the regular season. It's just, the fact that he showed no signs of weakness and being so young is the reason that he got such a big contract offer. I don't think he's ever going to get that much money offered to him again. Do you
He
agree?
did. There was weakness in his game.
Yeah.
But
Do you think he's ever going to get a contract like that offered to him again?
I don't
You
think he's ever
he'll-
going to get a contract like that
Exactly.
unless he begins right now to come back. He needs, because if you can perform in the postseason and you can perform somewhere in between what he's doing right now in San Diego and what he was in Washington, then he'll get the bag.
I
Brad,
agree
do
with
you
you,
have anything?
Stephs.
I think that he'll be fine because he's
There you go.
making 21 million this year. He's going to make an exorbitant amount next year in arbitration. He'll be okay. Moving on to the Dodgers Cubs. Noah Syndergaard struck out the most batters that he's ever struck out since 2019. That's good for him. He struck out 9. Max Muncy hit a bomb versus a non-Giants team. Jan had a pop off. He popped off. Jameson
off.
Tyone and Michael Groves looked good. The number 2 Dodgers offense, according to our power rankings, totaled 6 runs over 3 games. Good job, guys. Cubs took the series 2-1. And my comparison is the Los Angeles Dodgers look like a mid-tier college team. We win the midweek game against the lesser team, then struggle on the weekend.
I mean, I think I mean, the Dodgers offense looked just fine against the Giants. That's all I'm gonna say.
That was my point. Win against the midweek against the
Oh
lesser
yeah,
team.
that's you referencing. No, I am saying that the Dodgers just care more about some teams. I don't think they just. I don't know. They just didn't seem to care this much this series. Their offense is gone. And I'm not saying this Cubs team is bad by any means, but like they shouldn't be losing to them, at least, as they did.
I will say I think the Giants unlocked Max Muncy. They at least unlocked the third outcome, which is hit a bomb. Because he's looked very good since that Giants series. Again, smaller sample size, but there was also some questionable calls. In which game was that? Was it game
It was
2 or
game
game 3?
2 where Brad Boxberger painted outside of the zone for 5 called strikes where no pitch actually touched the strike zone. And the Dodgers struck out looking on, I guess, 5 not called.
Umpires have not looked very good thus far this season. Again, early in the season, they're still getting their legs under them as well. But yeah, I don't know. It was a fun series. Cubs take a series that they definitely needed, and again, I'm a believer in this Cubs team. I think they have the possibility, especially with the faltering Cardinals right now, and the Brewers look very good. But I don't know. Tom is a hater. Say Suzuki looks very good. In CG because he just came back and he looks pretty good. Hit a couple bombs in LA. Yeah.
I mean,
all right.
yeah.
Marlins Diamondbacks. Derek Cooper has been really good. Trevor Rogers actually had a good start. Bumgarner, so unbelievably, horribly bad garbage trash, wishes he was mediocre. Snatty struck out 9, his season high, but he allowed 4 runs. And we're going to talk about a little bit later why he might not be succeeding. Zach Gallen, he strikes out Chess Chisholm. If you guys don't know, they were traded for one another. 6 2/3, 2 hits, no earned, 7 strikeouts. Corbin Carroll, Pavin Smith, and Christopher Walker all have a good day at the yard, but the Marlins take the series 2-1.
I'm leaking future information, but Corbin Carroll has walked. He has reached base on balls. That's all I have to say. I mean, Zach Gallen's back. I think he won Player of the Week. He's back. I don't think there's much cause to be worried about that. I'm a Zach Gallen believer.
You're welcome.
He's just nasty. He's gonna be one of the best in the league for a while. I mean, there's not many other takeaways.
Yeah, I found it really
Right,
difficult
yeah.
to write notes about this one.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just two team. They're just two baseball teams. They play sometimes.
I mean, the Marlins are above 500 right now. Give them credit. They are 9-8, so that's a little bit surprising. Luis Ariz looks really solid. Diamondbacks are still fine. They're, like I said, the class of the NL West right now.
Yeah, and I mean,
Low bar.
I was looking at a stat the other day, and it was like, I think there's been 2 hitters in the history of baseball to be batting .514 after like 2 weeks in the season, and it was just Luis Arias and Barry Bonds. That's some good company to be around. I mean, it's not going to happen again, but
No.
he could be a guy that maybe hits 350 in a season or hits 360 in a season. It might be one of the highest batting averages we've seen in recent memory.
No, I could
I
definitely
could
see
definitely
that.
see that.
Are you ready to get in interleague?
International League.
No. We gotta. Do you want to talk about Snatty now or later?
Oh, I'll snatty it up. Basically,
All right.
Stavs reaches out the other day. He's like, "Why is Snatty bad?" And I was like, "Well, Snatty's good. It's just he's struggling a little bit right now." And he ain't even pitching like Snatty right now. Sandy Alcantara issues. Mostly been pitching to contact. Defense behind him in his last start went down from an out above average to an 0. It is defense. It is outs, 0 outs. It's not above or below. But basically, his defense played bad behind him in his last start. His least point's a little bit off. It's a couple inches higher, which is going to change the shape of all your pitches. But the biggest one is the slider. It's borderline cutter, just with less carry. It's become much more bullety, and it's out of the zone more, and it's not getting chases. So that's not much of a recipe for success when your big name pitch was your slider. So Snatty will be back. Right now, it's Sandy.
Yeah, he's just gotta address the problem, and it'll be pretty soon. I'm not too worried about it.
No.
It's time for interleague, and it's time to talk about me and Stev's teams. Let's start the Nats Guardians. The ice kind of melted for several players in this series. Josh Bell with a 6-hit series, he did not come out the gate hot. He, in fact, was pretty bad. And then we got some Nationals heating up. You got Luis Garcia and Jeimer Candelario, who seemingly Jeimer Candelario did not look good to start the season offensively. Defensively, he actually looked pretty good. Actually really good. But he's now waking up on the offensive side of things. I think he went from batting like 190 something now to 290 something. He's up there. Lane Thomas, bright spot in the Nats lineup. You kind of, fleeced. Was it the Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
It was the Cardinals. We gave him John Lester.
Yeah, that was a good trade. That was a Mike Rizzo W right there. Lane Thomas. I think he's going to be a good piece in the future. Hopefully he survives on this team. I don't know. Is he going to survive on this team, Steves?
So we were propositioned by one of our friends of what are our thoughts on the Nats moving him. And I don't see why they would do that. And he went, well, I that's what I thought about Soto last year. Lane Thomas, he's played very well thus far this season. He played pretty well last season, but again, he's kind of a streaky guy. He played decently in St. Louis when he was first there, and he went on a couple cold streaks. That's why they dealt him to us, because he was streaky when he was up. Now he's getting an everyday spot in Washington, and he's still a little streaky, but he's coming out the gates hot this season. The reason you traded a Juan Soto type is because you could rebuild your farm system. You're not going to be able to rebuild your farm system on a Lane Thomas trade.
The resume is just not there yet. You got to
Exactly.
build a resume. He can be good for a couple of years and then maybe you trade him, but there's no resume there yet. I mean, he hasn't. It's only been a 20-game sample size of good baseball. It's just not enough to be a trade piece quite yet. Brad, what are you thinking?
Hasn't even been that good.
He's been above average.
He's been pretty good. His defense is good, and his
No, it's
bat
not.
is.
He's in the 7th percentile for outs above average.
He's got a good arm, I
but
think.
when you're watching him he has a very good arm.
Okay,
And when you're watching him on the field, he's making good plays.
He's
Brad,
interesting.
You're not watching
cut the ball off. He cut the ball off one time.
I don't have to when I see when I can click outs above average and scroll down and like, oh, I can go all the way down and see his name. That's not
it's
great.
not always
okay. And
just
also we're
about
talking about a
good.
great bat with a nice 711, nice OPS. What's that expected WOBA? Oh, sorry, a 269.
Yeah, the WOBA. I mean, so everything is pointing that Lane Thomas does not deserve to be having the success he is, but maybe he starts to. Yeah, I mean, the sprint speed and arm strength appears to be there. I don't know why that doesn't correlate to outs above average. I don't know if he's bad at tracking, but that might be something he can fix in the future. He could be, one of the better defensive guys out there. But yeah, the expected WOBA is in the 13th percentile, barrel in 12th percentile, expected slugging in 11th. Not hitting the ball too hard, but his max exit velo is hard. The peripherals are not jumping off the page for this guy. I'm more hyped about Victor Robles, I think, if he's still tearing it up. He's not doing as well as he was before, but he's at least looking somewhat better. Okay. Sorry, I just pulled up the baseball savant page for him. He's still got a good arm. I don't know.
Fair.
I'm grasping at straws, Steve. I'm trying but I mean,
okay, so no, you got, again, you're gonna get what you're gonna get from the percentiles and the Brad stats. But if you watch the games, you can see he's doing things that a good baseball player does, right? Again, all these guys should be good baseball players, but when you're going out and you're watching because I think I've missed one game throughout this season. I missed the first game of the Guardians series. I'm gonna flip this. Let's talk about the Guardians for a little bit. Shane Bieber looked pretty good in his outing. Nothing crazy. Outside of that, the bullpen is extremely good. And the Nats had a very good comeback win against them, on a call that was somewhat questionable on Stone Garrett sliding in at home plate. He was originally called out, but he was called safe due to blocking the plate, which I thought he was just safe in general, but Nats ended up winning that game. Jose Ramirez looked very good. He had a bomb. And Josh Bell, I think coming back to Washington, he always hit well in Washington before. I think coming back to Washington really helped him. And I think it'll hopefully kind of start him for the rest of the season with the Guardians.
Yeah. All right, moving on to, I don't want to talk about this one. Can we skip this one?
No.
The Giants at the Tigers. Okay, let's start with the positives. Thairo Estrada is having a breakout season. 5 hits, 2 doubles, and a home run in 2 games. I think that home run was about 115 off the bat, and it went about 440 feet. That's not something a guy that's, Thairo Estrada's size. That's not something people do like that. I'm impressed. JD Davis also looking good. Good clutch bat. 4 hits, 6 RBIs, and 2 home runs in that 2-game series, 1 in each game. The offenses looked legit. I think they had 15 hits first game, 9 hits second game. Getting on base at a good rate, scoring runs. The bullpen is so bad. 3rd highest bullpen ERA in all of baseball. They're so bad. It boils down to the fact that the starters are not pitching that bad. It's the fact that they get pulled in the 3rd inning. Desclafani continues to look good. That's my bright spot there. You pull Sean Manaea in the 3rd inning or something, you put in John Brebbia, gives it 3. You can't do that. That's not a recipe for success. You have to have a starter go 5 innings or more. And that new rule in the minors might be the fix to that. The Gabe Kapler effect needs to at least change to the point where we can have starting pitching go deeper into games, because we can't have the bullpen pitching 6 innings a game. That's why they're so bad. Brad, what are your thoughts on this?
The Tigers looked okay. The Giants
Yeah.
just looked worse. That's really my only takeaway from the series.
Do you still think that this Giants? Okay, let me ask you this: does this 2-game series move the Giants up in the offensive rankings? I think it does. I think it just moves them further down in the pitching ranking. The
You
offense
faced
is
the
real.
Tigers.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, Tom, it's the Tigers. You lost, and you got walked off by Miguel Cabrera.
He's like 50 years
40-year-old
old.
Miguel
Yeah.
Cabrera.
Hey, he's 39 when he hit that.
39
home
when
run.
he hit that.
Yeah. Little D
Fair,
stuff.
but he turned, what was it? You turned 40 today.
Yeah. Happy
Again,
birthday.
not good. You can't get walked off by a 40-year-old Miguel Cabrera and the terrible Tigers team.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
that's all you have to say about this series. In all honesty,
I'm upset about it. But I am kind of surprised that the offense looks good. Moving on to the Braves at the Royals. I think the Braves are the best team in baseball, with the Rays going down and losing 2 games. I don't know. I really think that there's just such a good combo of offense and, actual pitching on this team that just makes them such a threat to me. At least to me. I don't know. Bobby Witt's red hot, heated up in a matter of 4 games, raised his batting average by like 150 points. That's really the highlight for the Royals in this series, and the Braves did sweep them. We have any takeaways from this?
Braves
No.
good, Royals bad.
I will say, this is my takeaway. Brady Singer struck out 8 while giving up 8 runs. I I'm not sold on Brady Singer, but I think he could be good. He has the potential to be good. I just, you're playing probably the best offense in baseball at this point. It's not enough. Those are my only takeaways. I think Nick Anderson pitched 2 games in that series, and he looked very good for both games. That is probably my takeaway from this series. What do you guys think about that?
He's thrown in like every single game they've played.
Hey, I mean, if he can be back to that Tampa Bay Rays 2020 form, they got themselves a pretty cheap reliever for the production he's giving. Moving on to the Mariners versus the Rockies. The Mariners swept. That's the takeaway, but there's more. Jared Kelenic is pretty good at baseball. He's pretty good. George Kirby with a good start. Quality start, not a Cy Young start like we'll talk about in a second, but a quality start for George Kirby. Luis Castillo is my front runner to win Cy Young right now. I think he continues to do this. He has looked borderline unhittable this season, and I see under that it says normal Tim L. So it appears we have a disagreement here. Who would like to speak against me?
Well, it's just that it says he will win the Cy Young. It's just you forget that Garrett Cole is currently in the American League right now. No, he looked really good though. He had 6 perfect innings. He comes out. The announcers were just like, "Yeah, he hasn't let up a hit yet. He has a perfect game. He hasn't a lot of hit yet. He let up a hit.
That's what they
Literally,
do every time. It's so annoying.
I turned on the broadcast and he went, he's been perfect through 6 so far. Let's see what he can do. And like first pitch, Jerks and Profar hits a single, not first pitch, but like you get the point. And I was like, what? because they did this too, in the NLCS when the Nats played the Cardinals and Anibal Sanchez had a no hitter or a perfect game going, and the broadcasters, freaking what's his name, the TNT guy, Ernie was like, "Yep, there's a no hitter. This Anibal Sanchez guy's got a no hitter going. What are you talking about? You don't talk about it. That's like a rule."
Brings
And
viewership in. That's the only reason they do it.
it's so annoying as a baseball fan to just, you're like, you don't say that. And
Yeah.
Tom, as he will win Cy Young. I had him third in Cy Young voting, so I'm always going to be right there with you.
Moving on to the final series of this episode, the Mid versus the Mets, the Athletics. Oh yeah, I love this team.
Mid,
Bad,
There you
really
go.
bad. Mets are obviously going to sweep this series, but they scored 17 runs in the first game. Surprisingly, only on 11 hits. That says more about their defense and control when it comes to pitching. But
Now,
they got
did you-
out hit by.
Did you
What?
get how many walks the A's had in that game?
How many walks did they have?
17.
17.
Oh man, yeah, that's a good stat to have. The A's actually out hit them in this game, so I mean that says a lot about the A's. Good job, guys. I don't know what they're training, but I guess they have a drill for just throwing balls. I don't know. Lindor appears to be warming up. I think he had a 7 RBI game in the first one, hitting a grand slam. Let's talk about the bright sides. I mean, obviously the Mets lineup is hitting. Alonso's hitting bombs. He's leading the league in home runs. Let's talk about the bright sides of the Oakland Athletics, soon to be Las Vegas Athletics. Shintaro
Hopefully.
Fujinami had his first good game. I'm happy. I hope his mom was in the stands and she got to watch that, because the first game when he gave up like 8 runs, that was really sad to watch. But I hope she was there for this one because he had a good game versus a very stacked Mets lineup, I must add. And Brad, I want to point this one out. Esteury Ruiz is batting .321 with only 10 strikeouts in 17 games. He's playing decent defense out there. I think, if not good defense. Can you eat your words yet, please?
No.
Please. No,
He's on the Athletic.
I like this guy. I really like Esteury Ruiz. I think he's going to be good.
Okay,
I mean,
Tom, do you
yeah.
want to know what Mark Kotze said over the weekend, their manager?
Yeah.
This isn't a competitive environment. He flat out said that to the
Yeah,
media.
I mean,
Did you guys see? Did you guys see what the fans are gonna do? The Oakland fans
a
are gonna do.
reverse boycott.
They're reverse boycotting. They're gonna all go to the game on like June 13th to prove that it's not the fan base that's the problem. It's the ownership and the everyone else within the organization.
Brad, do you see his peripherals? Are they surprising to you?
You just
Please
completely missed the point.
say Esteury Ruiz is decent, please. I remember at the beginning of the season, I was like, this guy, watch out for him. Watch out. He's going to be pretty good.
I mean, I think he's got, how many walks does he have? He has less walks than hit by pitches. So there goes that on base percentage right there. I can pick this apart if you want me to, because I will.
He has a higher expected WOBA than like some of the all-stars right now. I'm sold. He's the greatest player of all time.
Okay.
The next
His
Ricky Henderson
average
said
exit
that.
velocity is 86 miles an hour off the bat. You can accidentally poke a ball because you see how none of those balls are hit relatively far besides one. And it was a double.
That double was like, oh my gosh, how many feet was that?
Okay.
At least 3.
Okay, I think instead of you having this argument on air, let's go to the playoff simulator.
The stimulator.
The stimulator.
I'm not saying that.
The
Say it,
playoff
Staz.
stimulator. Because
I'm
all right,
not
so the
saying
way
that.
this will work. Okay, I'm excited for this one. This is week 2. Last week, if you missed it, Tom wasn't here, so I ran Steve's to the stimulator. That's why I got the name stimulator. So he had the Tampa Bay Rays winning. So the way this will work is one of us will just say out one of the teams, and then we vote. It's like a best of 3 for every series. So American League wild card: Tom, Rangers, Orioles.
Rangers.
Stems.
Rangers.
Damn it. All right, Rangers take it.
I knew you were gonna go with the Orioles. Brad.
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna do that.
All right. So
They don't have the
Yankees, Blue Stems, Rangers, Blue Jays.
Rangers,
Not Rangers, Yankees,
Blue
Blue Jays.
Okay. Let's go Blue Jays.
All right, Tom.
I'm going Blue Jays. I'm not sold on the Yankees.
Okay, we're on the same page. All right, we're chilling. Okay, National League wild card: Diamondbacks, Pirates. Series we all want to see.
That
Dude, I genuinely don't know about this one. I might go with the Pirates. I'm just saying they're hot right now.
Diamondbacks.
I'm going Pirates.
Diamondbacks.
Okay.
All right, Cubs, Mets.
I'm going with the Mets still. I don't think the
Cubs. Stems, it's up to you.
Don't do it, Stabs.
At this
Don't do it, Stabs.
point in time, give me the Cubs.
All righty.
The Mets
Okay.
don't have the pitching.
All right.
Yo, we have it.
ALDS. Stems, Rays, Blue Jays.
Because we
Mm,
just saw a series. We just saw what happens in a 3-game
the
series.
Blue Jays.
I'm taking the Blue Jays.
Blue Jays.
Yeah.
All right. Twins, Rangers, Twins.
I'm going the Twins. I'm saying defense wins championships.
Twins.
All right. Tom, Cubs, Braves.
Braves, easily.
Stems,
Braves.
Braves. All right. Brad, Brewers, Diamondbacks, Brewers.
Brewers. I like you started writing it down before you. Okay.
ALCS, Twins, Blue Jays, Twins.
This
Give me
game.
the Twins.
I would have gone with the Blue Jays, but shoot. Okay.
Stems, Braves, Brewers.
Braves.
Braves.
I would say Brewers, but okay.
You're just
All
doing
right,
it for a good time.
1991 repeat, the Twins versus the Braves. All right, hold up. We're gonna say it on three. Three,
What?
2,
Wait, what?
wait.
One.
I don't know what I want, bro. No.
Oh, all right, say it on three.
Force it.
3, Braves.
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 The
I'm gonna
Braves.
say go. And the Braves are your World Series champions. Oh yeah.
All right. The Atlanta Braves have won the Week 2 simulator. The Tampa Bay Rays got knocked out in the ALDS this time. We have some technical difficulties when it counts to counting to 3. Thank you all for listening to the 4A Baseball Podcast. We'll be back on Friday with a weekly scheduled episode recapping the weekday series. We'll be doing our power rankings, and I kind of want to talk about reformatting a couple things just so we're not focused on some teams like the Oakland Athletics. Just talking about key points from everything. Thank you all for listening. If you want to interact with us at all social medias are down there. They're in the description somewhere. You'll see them. They have a label next to them saying their social medias, which if you want to see all of our TikToks that we're going to start getting to upload in the next couple of weeks, they'll be getting out now. Thank you all for listening to the 4A Baseball Podcast. We will see you all next time. Papa.
Yeah.
Peace.